This is the detox I wish I started with before I wasted money on teas, pills, and random trends. When I first wanted to clean out my body, there was so much information out there, it was just...
You not get the concept?
And you lost 20 pounds to do that role?
I did.
And what did you do to lose the 20 pounds?
I haven't eaten in 9 days and I'm not hungry. And it's because my body's actually eating. It's just...
I did for 2 weeks a fast.
I heard you did the master cleanse.
I did the master cleanse.
I don't know if anybody knows what that is. I did the master cleanse also.
Oh,
I did it
no.
for 10 days.
So you know my pain.
Well, I didn't think it was master cleanse. It's not. We shouldn't call it a diet. It's not really.
I already lost 15 pounds since I started this 6-week journey, and I'm going to show you what I did.
Sluggish and just in need of a reboot after the festive season, then you've got to try ginger and lime chicken rice soup.
A nourishing bowl to help you hit your goals.
I haven't eaten for 11 days and this is what's clearing out my body every single day. My body's releasing something called...
My weight, 175. Long way to go. Let's get it.
Plant-based program, but in true B style, she doubled up doing the strict diet for 44 days.
I'm limiting myself to no bread, no carbs, no sugar, no dairy, no meat, no fish, no alcohol. And I'm hungry.
If you want a flat tummy, you need to be drinking this juice every day. This green juice has changed my life in more ways than...
His meals include beans, vegetables, whole grains, and nuts and seeds. The big no-no, processed foods.
You start to lose weight, your skin starts to get tighter, you start to sleep better, you start to have a better mood.
I'm back in my costume.
Alright guys, hope you all good today. Okay guys, let me ask you some things. How many diet have you seen advertised already this year? How many times have you heard someone say, I'm going to start a new diet this week, I'm going to start a new diet this year, I'm going to start a new diet for my summer body? How many times have you said this to yourself, even to yourself? Okay, so we know that it exists a lot of diets. So we have the keto diet, the intermittent fasting, the Mediterranean diet, the detox cleansing, the juice fasting, the low diet, the low carbs diet, the no carbs diet, the all protein diet. It exists so many diets. We have also the technique of the food before, no food before noon or no food after 6 p.m. All these are diets, a different type of diet, and sometimes they are directed for a weight loss. So every single of one are promising something that this time is going to work. Sometimes it will work. And here is the thing. Sometimes it does work. Yes, at first. People lose weight and they feel great, they are happy, they share this on social media, they share this with your friends and families, and then few months after they realize, even like 6 months after, they realize that over time the weight that they lost has been back, and the weight that they lost, even furthermore, more weight are back.
Loss routine that contestants followed was seriously intense. Once they got to the ranch, participants would work out for up to 8 hours a day, according to Kai Hibbert, who told the New York Post, "There was no easing into it. My feet were bleeding. I couldn't take any more." All that as they were eating less than 1,000 calories per day, according to Hibbert. It's not surprising that many participants on the show lost a ton of weight, even in the short span of 5 months. Thus, contestants returned to their normal lives and their families, and while they may have strolled through the door boasting a newly chiseled body, the old temptations were still there waiting for them.
I just slipped back into my old habits really quick within the next year or two, and within about 4 or 5 years, I'd put back on all the weight.
But sometimes it's even more of it. So we try again. So this person will try again, and we try a different diet. And yes, there will be a cycle of, okay, I'm trying again a different diet. So this time it's going to work, and somehow every time it fails. The person who is doing the diet is the one who is blamed most of the time, not the diet, not the technique. This is the person. And we say, and you can hear, oh, this person lacked of discipline. This person didn't follow strictly the diet. Or it's always the person's fault, but we never question the technique. Is this sounds familiar to you? Okay, so today we are going to ask the right question. We are going to ask the question that diet industry would really rather you didn't ask. Not which diet should I try today or which diet should I try next time, but why don't diet really works in the first place? And the answers can be fascinating. Here I'm talking about weight loss diet, not general diet, okay? So over this video, we will try to answer three big questions. Three big questions that in general most diets ignore. So the first question would be, why do most diet seems to work at the first place? And why, the second one would be, why do people almost always regain the weight they lost? And more importantly, why do we keep blaming ourselves instead of looking more critically on the method itself? Okay? So by the end of this video, I genuinely hope that you will walk away with a completely different mindset and a different relationship with the concept of dieting, okay? Not a new diet to try, no. A new way of thinking about diet. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Alright guys, so before we dive into this nice topic of diet, I know a lot of people are very interested into diet in general. Before we dive in, a quick word. So this channel, How to Eat Healthy, is a brand new channel. Here we are trying to build something. This is a space where we talk about nutrition, health, and food without the nonsense, without the false promises. We are completely transparent and honest with you. Okay, we're here to help your nutrition. We are here to help you on giving you good habits on your nutrition and improve your health in general. Okay, so that's why we're here. If that sounds something that you think you can like, you can appreciate, something that you want to see more in the future, okay, do not hesitate to subscribe. If you want to support the channel, if you want to support my work, do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel. It would be helpful for me and it would give me motivation to continue to give you this information. Okay, so we are aiming, as a brand new channel, we are aiming of a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. So this is our goal. So every single person of you subscribing to the channel will mean a lot for me and will mean a lot for the channel, because I want this to grow and I want this information to be shared to the general public. Everyone needs to know about nutrition, healthy nutrition, because it helps you in general to have a better health, a long-term health. Okay? If you believe that the evidence-based nutrition should be accessible and available to everyone, hit that subscription button and join us for a new beginning. I'm waiting for your subscription, and here we go. Okay, let's go back to the topic. Here is a question that sounds obvious but actually isn't. What is actually a diet? Yes, let's start there. Because when I say diet to you right now, what do you picture exactly? Do you picture a salad? Do you picture a calorie counter? Do you picture a way? Someone miserable and pushing around some plate of food, not wanted to eat? So that's not an accident, because this is a decade of marketing regarding diet. The word diet has been completely hijacked. So here I'm going to give you the definition. So you go on internet, you can find also the same definition that I found. So simply, here is the definition of a diet related on internet. So, diet is the sum of all food and drinks consumed by a person or organism. Okay, so this is the definition from the website Wikipedia, which is a very vulgarization of the diet definition. So, in nutrition science, your diet is simply everything that you eat and drinks, basically, full stop. That's it. Your diet isn't a plan. Your diet is not a plan. It's a description of what you eat and drinks. That's it. So you have a diet. I have a diet. Everyone have a diet. Your dog, even your dog, your animals, they have all diets. It's just that what you eat, it's just about what you eat. So, but somewhere along the way, when we talk about diet, we think about something else, especially from the mid 20th century onward. Going on a diet came to mean something completely different. It became shorthanded for deliberately restricting what you eat, usually to lose weight. So in general, when we see a definition of diet, the popular definition known by most people is about a structured plan of eating, often involving restriction, aiming at weight loss. So this definition is from Collins Dictionary or Cambridge also dictionary. So they record this type of diet. But in nutrition, in science, diet is only what you eat and drinks into your body. Okay. And that linguistic shift from describing what you eat to prescribing what you are allowing to eat introduce one of the fundamental problems we are going to talk about today. Okay, so because the moment a diet becomes definitely a restriction, it becomes inherently temporary, and temporary solution by definition produce temporary result. So this is simple but very important, so keep this in mind. What is diet for? Okay, so we just defined what is a diet, and before we talk about why don't diet really works, we need to quickly ask this question: why do people diet in the first place? So because the motivation really matters, this motivation will tell us a lot about the whole system and why it is set up to fail. So the question in this section is, why do people diet in the first place? So the obvious answer is basically to lose weight most of the time. But if you dig a bit deeper, so the reasons are much more human than that. So okay, let's see. Based on the NHS reference sources, we can see that most of the time people start to diet or decide to diet for weight loss or health improvement, disease management, apparent emotional well-being as well, or just for social pleasure. So some people diet because their doctor recommended, because their general practice recommend it to them. So their blood pressure is up, their blood sugar is creeping toward diabetes. That's a completely valid demand for a diet following medically grounded reason. So that's okay. So some people diet because they want to feel better in their body. Some people diet just for their pleasure. They feel more energized, they sleep better. So this is also completely valid. This is also a completely valid reason for dieting. But a huge proportion of diet reason, most of the time when you ask someone why are they dieting, they have nothing to do with health. It's just related to their physique, to their weight loss, and everything to do with how they are supposed to look. So because of social comparison, social media images, the feeling that your body is somehow not acceptable how it is. And so, yes, and this is where it gets psychologically complicated, because when your motivation for dieting is emotional, tied to shame or self-worth or wanting to be accepted, the diet doesn't just need to change your body. No, it has to fix how you feel about yourself. So that is a lot to put on your food plan. No kale salad has ever fixed a low self-esteem. Believe me, we've checked. So there is an important distinction that we need to flag right now, and we'll come back to it, between dieting and weight loss and eating for genuine health, because those two things look similar on the surface, but actually they are quite different in motivation, method, and for the outcome. Okay, The eatingdisorder.org.uk, the psychology of dieting, talks about this. So a diet chosen to punish your body into a smaller shape is not the same as eating pattern chosen to nourish your body optimally. One is sustainable and the other rarely is. Alright, let's talk about diet themselves. So because there are at least this point generally hundreds of named diets out there, there are a lot. Yes, but so let's cut through the noise and look at the main family's diet. And so we are going to crucially flag the few that carry real risk, that don't always get the attention that they deserve. So, okay, let's go. So, for the first one, okay, let's talk about the first type of diet, the diet for weight loss, the diet relating to calorie restriction and low-fat diet. So, this information is coming from Healthline 9 Weight Loss Diet Reviewed. Okay, so this is the original. This is the original modern diet, and it's still the basis of most official guidelines. So calorie restriction does produce weight loss. That's something that most of people know. Short term, the problem, which we'll dig into in details later, is what happened to your body when you restrict the calorie for a sustained period. Then we have the low carbs, cetogenic diet, or the keto diet. It pronounced in both ways. So the keto works for some people, notably in the short term. Fast results, especially on the scale, though partly because you lose water when you deplete glycogen store, not just fat. More on that later. Long term, that's the question. The research is much less flattering. So this information is coming from the GP at hand, NHS, and also Healthline. Okay, so we have the intermittent fasting. So the intermittent fasting is interesting because it can work when it's generally sustainable for someone, but it's not magic. Okay, the mechanism is still largely about calorie restriction, and you're eating less overall, so you're just packaging that differently. Okay. Then the Mediterranean diet. So this diet has a strong long-term evidence behind it. Not primarily for weight loss, but for health outcome in general. So there is a longevity, cardiovascular health. It's also one of the most sustainable dietary pattern we know, and we will see more on this on the solution section. Then we have also the detox diet and the juice cleansing. Okay, for this one, right, let's be direct about this one. There is no credible scientific evidence that juice cleansing detox your body. Your liver and your kidney do that already itself. Yes, so basically those organs are doing it continuously, and they do it for free. You don't have to buy any type of juice to clean or to restore your body. Okay, so what detox diet primarily produce is water loss, basically, and as well a lighter wallet, if I can say it like that. So now we are going into the second category of diet. We saw the weight loss, low calorie diet, and now we're going to see the 3 most dangerous popular diet and their celebrity links. So now a quick note before we go further. I want to flag diets that are generally popular and generally carry risk that often don't get enough airtime. So we are going to the most dangerous and popular diet, also related to popular people, to celebrity links. So we have the very low calorie diet. So this is a diet that is below 800 kilocalories per day. Some celebrity diet falls into the extremely low calorie territory. So, for example, we know that Beyonce reportedly consumed only 400 to 800 calories per day for her master cleanse before a film shoot, the film for where she had to act the Diana Ross, I forgot the name.
And you lost 20 pounds to do that role?
I did.
And what did you do to lose the 20 pounds?
Well, I did for 2 weeks a fast.
I heard you did the master cleanse.
I did the master cleanse.
I don't know if anybody knows what that is. I did the master cleanse also.
Oh,
I did it for
no.
10 days.
So you know my pain.
Well, I didn't think it was master cleanse. It's not. We shouldn't call it a diet. It's not really a diet. No. You do lose weight, but it's a cleanse.
Yeah.
That clinically, this type of diet, it's a very low calorie diet. The weight loss come off very fast. Okay. The rebound comes equally very fast, and the metabolic consequence can be very significant. So this is very alarming and dangerous. So this diet can cause muscle loss, nutrient deficiencies, gallstones, and metabolic slowdown. So this type of diet, if you really want to do it, I won't advise it, but if you really want to do it, that should be done under a medical supervision. Then we have this diet, which is the extreme elimination diet. So for example, we have the raw food only or carnivore only. So any diet that eliminate entire food groups for extended periods, particularly diet that remove all plants or all cooked foods, risk serious micronutrient deficiencies. The carnivore diet, or which eliminates all the plant food, has zero long-term safety evidence in human beings. Then we have the detox or the herbal supplement diet. So this is particularly dangerous when they involve laxative, diuretic, and underregulated and unregulated herbal supplements, which some celebrity endorsed as a detox produce contain. This can cause electrolyte imbalance, heart problems, and eating disorder patterns. So this is very important to be careful on that type of diet. One important distinction. So before we move on, there is one thing I want to be clear about. So we are talking today specifically about weight loss diet, not personalized nutrition approach. Okay, a personalized nutrition plan designed with a qualified nutritionist for your specific biology, health history, goals, and lifestyle. That's a completely different thing. And we saw this into the definition of diet, okay? So that's not what fails. What fails is the one size fits all off the shelf. Follow this plan for 6 weeks and transform your life diet. That is what the science consistently show doesn't work over the time, on a long time. So stay tuned because we will come back to what really does work to the end. Okay, let's be fair with diet for a moment because they do deserve credit for one thing. They work. Initially, yes, you start a new diet on Monday. By Friday, you are down to 2 kilos, for example. You're thrilled, you're happy, your jean fits better, and you tell your friends, you feel like you have finally cracked the code. But here is the thing. Is that early success real? But it doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Okay, let's break down exactly what diet work in the short term. Because understanding this is the key to understanding why they stop working afterwards. So, The first reason is about the calorie deficit that works on the short term. So at a basic level, almost every weight-loss diet works by creating a calorie deficit. You consume fewer calories than you burn. For example, the keto does it by cutting carbs heavily and reduce the appetite. Okay, the intermittent fasting does it also as well, because it will narrow the window where you eat in general. As well, the low-fat diet do it because it will cut most of the calorie, the dense calorie, because the fat record the most dense calorie as a macronutrient. So most diet, basically this type of diet, they reduce calorie intakes, and so even when they don't explicitly say so, that's the mechanism behind the initial weight loss, regardless of what the diet is called. The reason number 2 is the water weight loss, because yes, your body is made up over nearly 60% of water. So here's something most diet marketing conveniently skip over. So a significant portion of the weight you lose in the first 1 or 2 weeks of a low carbs or keto diet, it's not fat. Yes, it's water. So here's why: because your body stores carbohydrate as a glycogen in your muscle and livers. Each gram of glycogen is bound to approximately 3 grams of water. When you cut the carbs dramatically, basically you deplete those glycogen stores and also all the water that exists in your body. Here is the scientific article that explains that, the energy balance and body weight regulation. Okay, so that dramatically 3 to 4 kilo drops in the first 2 weeks of keto, right? Largely water. Not to say that fat loss doesn't happen too. It does, but the scale is being more dramatic than the body fat picture would be. This isn't a conspiracy, don't worry, it's just physiology. But it is one of the reasons people are so impressed by the early keto results and so confused when that pace doesn't continue afterwards. So the third reason is about the novelty effect. Your body has a memory of your behavior, okay? So there's a third reason diet works initially, and it's almost entirely physiological. So when you start a new diet, you are paying attention. You're reading the label, you are planning your meals, you are making conscious decisions about what you are going to eat. And that's great, okay? Probably for the first time in a while, and that's good also. That increased awareness and structure is very powerful. You stop eating mindlessly, you stop finishing your kids' leftover without noticing, and you stop having that second glass of wine just after, just because it's there, yeah? So the diet gave you a framework, it gave you a structure that made you more intentional about food, and that intentionally, not the specific rule of the diet. So that's good. Okay, and that intentionally, not the specific rule of the diet, is a big part of what drives that initial success. The problem is that, unfortunately, novelty fades over time. Willpower is a finite resource, and after a few weeks or months, life starts creeping back in. And so, that's when the real challenge will begin, basically. Now we get the heart of it, because this is the part that almost no diet book will tell you. This is the part the diet industry has a very strong financial incentive for you not to understand. Diet fails long term because you're weak, not because you lack discipline. Because your own biology mount a coordinated, sophisticated, relentless campaign to undo everything you've done. Your body is not your enemy, but when you restrict calorie dramatically, it generally behaves like one. So let's go through 4 major pillars of diet failure. Pillar number 1, so we have the metabolic adoption. Okay, so when you lose weight through calorie restriction, something happened that your diet plan doesn't warn you about. Your resting metabolic rate, the number of calories your body burns just to keep you alive, drops significantly. This is called metabolic adaptation, and it's done of the most important and most under-discussed phenomena in nutrition science. So here is the most striking piece of evidence we have for this, and it comes from one of the most uncomfortable studies in diet science. You might have heard of the TV show The Biggest Loser. Yes, contestant who lost extraordinary amount of weight through intensive diet and exercise. Yeah, I'm sure you have seen this TV program before. So researchers from the National Institute of Health follow up with 14 of these contestants 6 years after the competition ended, and what they found was really shocking. So here is the paper on screen for you, but read that again. 6 years later, having regained most of their weight, their metabolisms were still running significantly slower than they should be based on their body size. So basically, their body had permanently recalibrated downward, burning 500 fewer calories per day than expected. Every single day. So that's the equivalent of a full extra meal just vanished from their energy budget. And this isn't just a Biggest Loser extreme case issue. So the same mechanism operates at much smaller scale. Any sustained calorie restriction triggers some degree of metabolic adaptation. So what does that mean in practice? You start a diet, you lose weight, your metabolism slows. To keep losing weight, you have to eat even less, which makes you more hungry, which makes the diet even harder to maintain, which eventually leads to giving up, which leads to eating more, while your metabolism is still running slow. And the weight comes back plus extra. So this is what's happening. Basically, this is the yo-yo cycle, and it's not a character flaw. It's a predictable biological outcome. The pillar number 2 is more related to hormonal changes. So the hunger hormone that works really against you. So if metabolic adaptation is your body quietly turning down the furnace, hormonal changes are your body taking the microphone and shouting, "Eat something." So when you lose weight, 2 key hormones shift dramatically, and they stay shift. Not just while you're dieting, but for a long time afterward. A landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the most prestigious medical journals on earth, followed 50 participants through a 10 weeks intensive diet program. What they found was very alarming. So after losing an average of 13.5 kilograms, participants had significantly lower leptin level and significantly higher ghrelin levels. Their body were screaming at them to eat, basically. But here is the truly surprising part. 1 year after the diet ending, those hormonal levels still hadn't returned to the normal state. So basically, 1 full year later, the hunger signal were still elevated. That's crazy. Think about what that really means. You finish your diet, you've done everything right, you've hit your goal, and after the next year, your body is physiologically set up to make you feel hungrier than normal and less full than normal. So that's crazy. That is not a willpower problem, that's a biological problem. And yet, what do you say to people who regain the weight after a diet? You just didn't have enough discipline. That's what you tell them. But yeah, sure, it's not really that. It's not really that. Okay, so the third pillar, physiological restriction, overeating. Okay. So the third pillar is physiological, and it's one that often gets dismissed as weakness when it's actually a completely predictable human response. Rigid dietary rules create a physiological pressure cooker. Yes, the more food you ban, the more your brain fixates on them. So psychologists call this the ironic process theory, or more colloquially, the white bear effect. That's something that I'm learning as you. So tell yourself not to think about a white bear. And what you think about? The same principle apply for food. Tell yourself you can never eat pasta again, or you can't eat this specific food. And guess what? Pasta become all the things that you want to think about, all the things that you want to eat. So the UCLA researcher Tracy Mann has probably done more work on the long-term failure of diet than almost anyone. So her team reviewed 31 long-term diet studies and found a striking pattern. The majority of dieters not only regained the weight they lost, many ended up heavier than before they started. Her conclusion, published in the American Psychologist, was that diets are not effective treatment for obesity, and that for many people, dieting itself is a risk factor for weight gain. Sit with that for 1 second. The act of dieting itself may be making problem worse long term. Do you realize that? Not because the diet failed, because the cycle of restriction and rebound change your relationship with food, your body, your hunger signal in lasting way. Okay, so now the fourth pillar. The fourth and final pillar is the simplest, and in some ways the most devastating for the diet industry. The question no diet plan ever truly asks you. Can you imagine eating this way for the next 5 years? I'm not asking you to follow this diet for the next 6 weeks. I'm not asking you to follow this diet for the next 3 months. I'm not even asking you to follow this diet for your wedding or for your birthday or for whatever event you plan to lose weight. I'm asking you, can you follow this diet for the next 5 years, for example? Every Christmas, every holiday, every birthday dinner, every stressful Tuesday, any day, you have to follow this specific diet. Can you do that? If the honest answer is probably not, then whatever you're doing is not a long-term solution. It's a temporary intervention, and temporary intervention produces temporary results. This is not a judgment. Cutting out an entire food group, cutting every calorie, restricting your eating window, or avoiding all social meal is very hard to sustain in the real world. I do agree, especially for years on hand. Most people can't, and most researchers show that those people really don't. People don't. You don't. The researcher on weight maintenance consistently show that the people who successfully keep weight off long term aren't following extreme diet. So they're made small and consistent and enjoyable changes that become part of their actual lifestyle, nutrition, way of eating. The key message from the science: diet falls not because people fail, because the diet for weight loss works on paper. The fail is because they are designed as temporary. They are not designed for the long term. They're designed as temporary to fix a permanent challenge, which will not work. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is all interesting, but this is just one point of view. Yeah? Is this fringe science? Okay, is this fringe science? Okay, let's see. So, I recalled scientific source before, but I also went on YouTube, I also went on internet to see what professional who came on the scene says in general. And so I recalled few professionals. But in fact, some of the most respected scientists and medical voice in the world have been making exactly this argument for years. Let's meet a few of them. So the expert number one, which is the Professor Tim Spector. So Tim Spector has spent decades studying how gene, gut bacteria, and environmental interact to shape our health. He is probably the scientist who has done more than anyone to bring the gut microbiome into the public conversation about nutrition. And his message on diet is pretty ambiguous. Spector argued that the idea of calorie counting is fundamentally flawed.
But these appetite signals are crucial, and we can see this with the new Ozempic drugs. They're blocking that hunger drive, and as soon as you block that, then you can lose weight. But if you don't block it, it's sort of virtually impossible for most people to just fight that continually, because it just gets ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. So you're just thinking about food all the time, and your body is designed to get back to where it was. And so the idea of relying just on calories as a weight loss tool has been shown to be flawed in numerous controlled trials, because eventually your body wins. And
let me ask,
if you don't change other aspects of eating, and you're just obsessed with the calories, and that's if you can count the calories anyway, because most of these trials are not real life. They're done in highly controlled scenarios with nurses ringing you up and confirming what you're eating, and it's the best possible scenario. And even in those scenarios, 80% of people have failed at 2 years.
Meaning they put the weight back on?
Yes.
Not because calories don't exist, but because it treats the body like a simple machine, ignoring the enormous complexity of individual metabolic response, gut bacteria, and food quality.
We understand the subtle balance, and the fact that food also has other mechanisms triggering hunger that aren't related just to calories. So the nature of the food, the quality of the food is something that we're uncovering, which we never in the past talked about. So we've been so obsessed with the calorie. There's all kinds of problems with the calorie. It's not very accurate to measure, and it ignores the structure of food. So the way we've been counting them is wrong. So identical calories, a different response just because the nature of the food, and we were giving people the equivalent of ultra-processed food, which is what the average American diet is, in its highly refined form, it had a very different effect. And you could give identical calories in a different format, different structure, you'd get a different result. And so there's another famous study from the NIH where they gave people 2 weeks of whole foods and 2 weeks of ultra-processed foods and identical calories and macronutrients, and the ultra-processed food group overate. So they were overeating by equivalent 300 calories a day. And so if you only had calories as your objective, and you go back to this, there was the law of physics and all this kind of stuff, you miss the point about food being so much more complex, and it's about the structure of the food. And we're not accurately measuring the calories because you get very different responses.
On the diet industry specifically, he's not shy. His recommendation: stop looking for the perfect diet. Start feeding your gut microbiome with diversity, 30 different plant food per week, and stop eating ultra-processed food that strip that diversity away. Here we are. Then we have the expert number 2, which is the Professor Jill Yeo. Professor Jill Yeo's area of expertise is the brain control of body weight. So specifically how genes influence the choice we make around food, often without us being consciously aware of it. His central argument, one that generally should change how you think about diet, is that calorie is a deeply flawed unit of measurement for human nutrition.
Okay. The chances are you probably would lose weight because we probably burn more than that. But how healthy would you be? I think is probably the question. Whereas if you had a healthier diet, but ate 2,500 calories of a healthier diet, would you be healthier? And that's the more important question I think you ask. Because there's two things you're trying to look at. You're trying to look at the number on the scale, and that probably would work. Or you're trying to look at your health, your blood glucose levels, your blood pressure, your ability to be energetic during the day, how fast you want to run, whatever it is, whatever metric can you lift your grandkids up, whatever you want to do. And so I think it is a measure. Clearly it is. I'm not denying that it is not a measure, but it is a very blunt tool, and I don't think it is measuring what we need to measure, which is the quality of our food.
What is the key point Yeo makes in this? Calorie availability vary hugely based on the food matrix, how processed it is, how much fiber it contains, whether it's cooked or raw, how your own gut microbiome breaks it down. 200 calories of almond is metabolically completely different from 200 calories of white bread. The quality of food, the quality of nutrients you are recalling for your body, I can't say it enough. Your body absorbs them differently. They trigger different hormones. They trigger, of course, different hormones. So they have different effect on your hunger as well. Treating them as equivalent because they have the same numbers of calories is, scientifically speaking, quite wrong.
And it really is a kind of narrative buster that calories are not accurate.
So, look, I speak a lot about calories. I understand that 200 calories of chips is twice the portion of 100 calories of chips. But so is 200 grams of chips twice the portion of 100 grams of chips. And no one is trying to compare 200 grams of chips to 200 grams of carrots. Broadly speaking, that's what it is. The calorie is a very useful tool to give you a general idea how much you are eating during the day. That is true, okay? How much you're eating. But it tells us nothing, zero, about the quality of food you're eating, about how much protein, how much fiber, what type of fat, how much sugar. The calorie tells you absolutely nothing. So it gives you a piece of information, how much food you're eating, and that's, yes, I can see how that could be important. But I would like to see a world we live in where we were more concerned about the quality of food we are feeding ourselves, our kids, other people, than necessarily just the pure caloric content.
So, according to Professor Jill Yeo, he also make a point that deeply relevant to why diet fails. Body weight is not primarily a conscious choice. Your gene influence the choice you make around food, often unconsciously, making some people biologically more prone to eating slightly more over the time than others. Dieting, as if weight were purely a willpower issue, ignore the biological reality of how appetite is regulated. Now let's see the expert number 3, which is the Dr. Marine L'Orphelin. So from a different angle, but reaching a very relevant audience, Dr. Marine L'Orphelin addresses diet myth in the context of what's being circulated on TikTok and social media. And she's doing something valuable, meeting people where they actually get their information. So, her key message align with the science we've discussed.
Tu viens de me dire déjà, mais déjà, on mange de tout. Tu vois, il n'y a aucun aliment qui est à diaboliser, qui est tu vois, complètement supprimé. On a le droit de manger de tout. La question, ça va être la quantité. Tu vois, donc en fait, tous les régimes restrictifs où on dit on mange pas ci, donc on mange pas de sucre, on mange pas de gras, sont globalement mauvais pour la santé et vont dérégler ton métabolisme, ton corps, qui en fait va manquer d'un truc et qui en fait va être en souffrance et qui va du coup se mettre à stocker parce qu'il manque d'un truc. Tu vois, et donc tu vas rentrer dans un cercle vicieux où ton corps il va stocker, il va être en stress et donc quand tu remangeras normalement après ton régime, bah tu vas plus stocker qu'avant et donc probablement tu vas prendre du poids.
Est-ce que tu trouves que
Common beliefs about diet are often myths. TikTok health trends are frequently based on pseudoscience or misunderstanding, and the real path to sustainable health comes from understanding your body, not from following a 30-day challenge or 30-day plan from influencer with no medical training or no nutritional foundation, formation, training, etc.
Contrôle total de l'alimentation.
De dire bon bah je compte mes calories, après je fais un déficit calorique. Déjà globalement, si tu ne fais pas accompagner d'un médecin et d'un diététicien, tu vas faire des erreurs. Soit tu n'arriveras pas à le faire, soit tu vas trop le faire, tu vas être trop restrictive et là tu vas te mettre en danger. Tu vois. Donc je dis pas, il y a des personnes qui sont en surpoids, en obésité, qui souffrent, qui ont des douleurs, qui sont vraiment pas bien dans leur corps, qui ont besoin de perdre du poids, mais là il faut le faire vraiment accompagner médicalement, ça s'invente pas. Ça va se faire à travers une alimentation ultra équilibrée, sans restriction, avec du plaisir, enfin, tu vois, avec le droit de manger certains aliments, même caloriques, tu vois. On va jamais diaboliser aucun aliment, on va juste essayer de rééquilibrer en fonction de la personne, tu vois. Du coup ça va être très individualisé. Et donc je te rejoins sur le fait que déjà, il faut pas calculer ses calories, tu vois. On n'a pas besoin en fait de calculer ses calories. Si on essaie d'être à l'écoute de notre corps nous dit en fait de quoi on a besoin.
So the presence of a credible medical voice, clinical voice, professional in social media space matter enormously because the alternative, the unregulated food of diet misinformation is causing real harm, and in particular toward the younger audience. So we've talked about why diet fails. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough coverage. So the consequences of repeatedly dieting and failing because it's not just neutral. It's not just, oh, well, it didn't work, try something else. No. Chronic dieting, the cycle of restricting, losing, regaining, restricting again, has documented health consequences and physical and psychological consequences. Okay, so let's go through the different consequences, the big one. So the consequence of weight cycling. So the pattern, gaining, losing, is not benign. Research published in Obesity Review found that weight cycling is associated with increased cardiometabolic risk, higher risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome. So there's an uncomfortable irony here. So people diet to improve their health, but the cycle of repeated dieting may be worsened a certain health marker compared to simply maintaining a stable weight, even a higher one. So the consequence number 2 is related to eating disorder pattern. So this one require specific care, because it sits in the boundary between dieting and eating disorder. So, but the research is clear enough that we can't skip it. Rigid, rule-based dietary restriction is a documented risk factor for disorder eating behavior, particularly binge eating. So this isn't just an extreme case, believe me. The all or nothing mentality that many diets encourage, where one biscuit break the diet and the day is written off, is a pattern that can over time develop a genuinely unhealthy relationship with food. The guilt, the rule, the binary of good and bad food, these thought patterns are worth paying attention to. So the consequence number 3 is about the nutrient deficiency. careful about that too. Extreme diet that eliminate entire food group, and this apply to both very low calorie diet and high restrictive diet like carnivore or raw vegan, carry real risk of micronutrient deficiency. That's real. Cutting carbs completely can mean cutting fiber, B vitamins, magnesium, cutting all animal products without supplementation, risk B12, iron, or zinc deficiency. For example, cutting fat long term can interfere with the absorption of your fat-soluble vitamin A, D, E, and K. So then we have the consequence number 4. The consequence number 4, it's about a loss of trust in self. So, and then there's a cause that doesn't show in your blood test. Trust me, every time a diet fails, and as we've established this prior earlier, it mostly does, there's a story that gets told. And it's not that method wasn't right for my biology. It's I failed again. I just don't have what it takes. That narrative, repeated year after year, diet after diet, erode a self-trust. People stop believing that they can change. They start believing that the problem is them, and it's not necessarily the system or the method. That belief is wrong. And it matters enormously, because people who feel fundamentally incapable of change don't try anymore. And people who stop trying don't find the approach that actually works. Understanding the real science of why diet fails isn't just an academic thing. It's about giving people back their own agency. Let's quickly back the specific diet, not to attack them, but to look honestly at what the evidence actually says, because some of these have very passionate fan base, okay? And I want to be fair. So let's talk about the low carbs and the keto diet. Does it work? Yes, short term. The appetite suppression from ketosis is real. The initial scale results are impressive, but research consistently shows the advantage over the diet largely disappear after 6 months to a year. So the bigger challenge, keto is generally difficult to maintain socially and culturally long-term for most people. So birthday cake, for example, pasta dinner, holiday meals, the diet require constant vigilance in the world that doesn't accumulate it. So the very low calorie diet. Okay, so we can see a rapid loss. Yes, high rebound rate. Also, yes, the more aggressive the restriction is, the more aggressive the metabolic adaptation and hormonal response will be, and therefore the more predictable the regain will be. Okay, so next, the detox, the juice cleanses. Primarily water loss. No credibly evidence of fat loss or toxin removal, often expensive, not physiologically meaningful beyond a few days of reduced calorie intakes. And the intermittent fasting. Of all the popular approaches, it has probably the most nuanced evidence. For some people, time-restricted eating generally helps regulate the appetite and reduce overall the calorie intakes, and it does it without banning specific food. So that's good. That flexibility is a genuine advantage, but bear in mind and this is important, it still works via calorie balance. It's not magic. And for people who respond to fasting with increased hunger and binging the eating window, it can backfire. Alright, let me be upfront about something. There is no single perfect diet for weight loss. If someone tells you there is, that's your cue to be skeptical, okay? So what the research does consistently show is that the most effective approach for long-term weight management share a few key characteristics. They're sustainable, nutritionally adequate, and grounded in real behavior change, not temporary restriction. So let's look at what actually has evidence behind it. So, the Mediterranean diet. This is consistently the best supported diet pattern in long-term research, not just for weight, but for overall health, cardiovascular outcome, and longevity. The landmark PREDIMED trial, a large randomized study, found that participants following a Mediterranean diet supplemented with olive oil or nuts had significantly lower rate of cardiovascular events compared to a low-fat diet group. Why does it work so well? Not because it's magic, but because it's diverse, enjoyable, flexible, and culturally adaptable. It doesn't ban any food. It doesn't require you to count anything. It nudges you toward quality food while allowing you to live your life. The DASH diet. So originally designed to manage blood pressure, the DASH diet has a strong evidence across a range of health markers. One of the seminal studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine showed that it could reduce systolic blood pressure by 8 to 14 points, comparable to medication in some cases. It's not dramatically different from the Mediterranean approach. The principle overlaps substantially. And that overlap is telling the fundamentals of healthy eating are not complicated. Okay, so the diet number 3, higher protein, moderate calorie deficit. If someone does need to reduce calorie intakes, and sometimes that's medically appropriate, increasing protein is one of the best supported strategies for making that process more manageable. Higher protein intakes improve satiety, you feel fuller for longer. It also helps to preserve lean muscles mass during weight loss, which is important because muscles is metabolically active tissue. It keeps your resting metabolism higher. Then we have the behavior-based approach. Here, something that often gets overlooked in diet conversation. So the most consistent predictor of long-term weight maintenance isn't which diet you follow. It's your habit. The National Weight Control Registry tracked thousands of people who have successfully lost significant weight and kept it off long term. The patterns that emerge are remarkably consistent. Notice what's not on that list: a specific named diet. Keto isn't there, fasting isn't there, calorie counting isn't the defining feature. It's consistency, monitoring, moderate, sustainable habits. So yes, this is unsexy. I know it doesn't make for a compelling magazine headline. Eat regularly, move your body, and pay attention to what you eat is never going to trend on TikTok. Yeah, but it's what the evidence actually really says. Okay, so the fifth diet that is actually good, the right method, Dr. Marine L'Orphelin perspective. So that Dr. Marine L'Orphelin contribution to this conversation is particularly valuable for a social media savvy audience. She brings the same scientific principle we've discussed and translated them into the language of the platform where so much diet misinformation lives. So here, her core message in this video is debunking the myth isn't enough. You also need to offer a viable alternative, and that alternative is not another diet. It's a relationship with food based on listening your body, understanding nutrition evidence, and making changes that fit your actual life. There is no one size fits all, okay? The right method is the one that works for you. The personalized nutrition, basically your biology, your lifestyle, your preference, your personal goal, personalized goal, and what you can sustain for years, not for weeks, for years, maybe for a whole lifetime. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. So we've defined what a diet actually is and how the word got hijacked to mean temporary restriction. We looked at why people diet and why those motivation matters. We went through the most popular diet and their real evidence. We dug into the 4 pillars of why diet fail long times over the times, and the metabolic adaptation, the hormonal shift, the physiological restriction, and the sustainability problem. We heard from some of the most respected voices in nutrition science. Tim Spector, Giglio, Marine L'Orphelin are some specialist professionals in clinic that are selected for you in this video, all pointed the same direction. And we looked at what actually does work, not a perfect diet, but an evidence-based lifestyle, diverse, sustainable, behavior-grounded eating. So what do I want you to take away from this video, from this informative video? Not a new diet to try, not another protocol to follow. I want you to walk away with this. So the failure you may have experienced on diet wasn't yours. I guarantee it wasn't yours. The system was not designed for a long-term success. Understanding that is genuinely understanding it is the first step to actually building something that really works for you. Now, if this video has made you realize that you want a more personalized structure approach to your nutrition, one that is built around your life, your goals, your pace, your biology, that is exactly what we do at How to Eat Healthy. We offer a personalized nutrition session, not cooking cutter plan, not a day challenge, real tailored guidance that meets you where you are and grow with you. If you find this video valuable, and I genuinely hope you did, there are a few ways you can help this channel to grow. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are working toward our first 1,000 subscribers, and every one of you being here from the start really matters. You're not just a number, you're part of building something that could reach people who really need this information. So find us on TikTok with the same name, How to Eat Healthy, for shorter form content video where I talk about vitamins, carbs, etc. Quick myth busting and regular dose of evidence-based nutrition without the noise. And share this video if you found this useful. It can be also useful for someone else, so share this video if you know someone who has been stuck into the diet cycle, someone who has been blaming themselves for something that isn't their fault. Send this video to them. It would be really helpful to them. I believe, like, really, trust me, it would be it would bring some answers to them on the long term. Because sometimes the most useful thing we can do for someone is simply show them the game was rigged and there is a better way to play it. Thank you, and I see you for another video. Bye.